Yo, what's up, guys and gals? It's your host with the most, Griever, as always, bringing you guys the Hunters Guild Red Hood. Chapter number 10. We're up to double digits officially. I did hear somebody was rumoring around the rumor mill that the Hunters Guild Red Hood was canceled. I didn't see anything official, not on Twitter, not on Reddit, and there was nothing on Anime News Network or anything like that. Anything, any reputable source that I could find about this information. So, because even though it didn't do so well in the polling, if you recall, I don't even think Black Clover My Hero Academia was even on that poll. So, I mean, and they're still going strong. So, at the end of the day, I'm not that worried about it. I think there's a lot of potential, and I think more and more people are getting hyped about it. Just wanted to squash that little rumor that I heard. I mean, it could be the case, but I saw nothing official. So, but that being said, why don't we get into this chapter? Because this chapter is actually really action-packed. There's a lot to go over, so I might just skim a lot of the dialogue and stuff. Like, I don't want this to be a 19-minute like read-through of the chapter. I'd like to more talk about the dynamic of the chapter. The fact that at the end of the last chapter, we got Vilu and a bunch of the other, we got Bonkers, we got these other people that are all going to work together, and they've recognized that this something's feeling fishy, something smells fishy, something, you know, it's just not quite right. It's not settling well. It's not settling like a proper meal should. So they've got an uneasy feeling about this, and so they decide, you know what? No, let's see what happens after the 3 minutes. Let's see what we can do here. Like, see what's going to be the case. And they have this strategy meeting, and they talk about it. And we jump back and forth between them, between their strategy meeting and the real time. So we jump back and forth. But suffice it to say, we already knew they're going after the handcuffs. They only have 9 between the two of them. Debonair and Grimm both have 4 and 5 respectively. So that being the case, how are they going to lock up 30 people? Right? Because they need the... So they actually come up with this idea. Vilu basically explains the plan, saying, okay, what we need to do, we have plan A and plan B. Plan A is cut off their supply route. We figure out where, like, how do they restock these handcuffs and what are the rules? And the best way to do this, which is near the end of the chapter, is somebody has to get caught. Because then we'll know how it works. Somebody will find, once they're caught, they'll see how they replenish or replace the handcuffs. So, because, like, it's actually really intricate. Like, everything here is just really, really cool because they go through this. The pacing of this chapter is, like, perfect. Because we don't just see a flashback at the very end and then the haha victory smile. What we get, I mean, that still happens, sort of, but we jump back and forth in between the explanation constantly. We go a page of flashback, a page of present, a page of flashback, a page of present. Usually, in other situations, that might not work to an advantage, but in this chapter, I feel like it really does work because they decide, okay, this is what we need to do because we can't straight up defeat them. Like, we just, like, there's no way that we can beat Debonair, there's no way we can beat Grimm straight up. So, if we allow 1 or more people, they end up picking a trio. There's 6 of them. Instead of splitting it up into pairs of 3, they split into trios of you know, they split up into, instead of splitting up into trios of 2, they split up into a trio. However that works. Anyway, 3 per group. There's 2 groups of 3. So the 2 groups of 3, and 1 group gets caught. That's how they can determine how to cut off their supply route. If they can figure out how they replenish, like, do they go to a storage locker? Does somebody bring them? Do they mend it? Like, how do they get more handcuffs? So, really, really smart. They also talk about the other aspect in the room, which is time. Time is a big factor. The test is an entire 2 hours. Blocking their supply route for that long, even if we do figure out how do they replenish it, what are we supposed to do about it? We can't straight up stop them. We can't create a wall and that they can't get through. They'll just plow right through us. How are we going to do this? So they keep coming up with all these different countermeasures. At the end of the day, first and foremost, they make it look like, okay, so they initially stole the handcuffs of Debonair and stuff, right? And they realize that they are going for the handcuffs. Now, this is where we also get this shield-looking thing, the Tower of Divine Favor, which Debonair immediately thinks, like Grimm and herself, that this priest person is, who I forget their name, they are using apparently priestess defensive art and creates this, almost looks like cut, like squared off fingers in a way, and it's just a Tower of Divine Favor, almost like like people praying almost sort of idea, and it's folded fingers. It looks really cool. It looks actually kind of cool. And it's a shield now, blocking in Grim and Debonair. Now, of course, they're going to be able to escape relatively soon, but this gives them time to run away. Debonair exclaims that your power is a hex, and they respond with, no, it's a god's blessing. Hence, like, the sanctuary, the priestess, the divine, you know. So it probably is a hex, but we don't know enough about the world yet. If this could be sort of like the Elder Scrolls, where there are Daedra, there is also Aedra, right? There's the divine and the Daedra. So there is an actual difference. So potentially, even if witches, hexes resemble this, this might actually be one of the divines, or there is a god, or there is an Aedra, or something like that, that also grants similar power to those of the faith, you know, sort of idea. Or it is a witch masquerading as that, and it is a hex. Who knows? But either way, the other three pull out. So who got caught? Bonkers, Portion, and Vilu all got caught. So they end up in the jail cell. Now, so they take the handcuffs. The handcuffs stay on everybody, right? Like while they're in the jail, they get handcuffed, because that's something I questioned last time. In the last couple of reviews, like, how is this going to work? Like, do they remove them? It's like, okay, you're caught once you're in the jail until you're touched by another person. You basically imaginary cuffs, and they only use the 9. No, they actually, and so this has been answered this chapter. No, they replenish it. The cuffs stay on. If the cuffs come off, because once again, you know, if an outside person touches them or whatever, like touch football, they get released from jail. So the cuffs stay on to represent people in the jail. But that works out really well. Like, I just really like this. So we see that it's actually the guards over the jail replenish it. So, and Debonair burns a hole in the ground and stuff to go to the next floor or whatever, instead of trying to break through this divine tower shield. She says that it's pretty freaking tough itself. So we're just going to find an alternate way out, sort of idea. Reminded me very much of Underworld with the guns. You know, just blow up the floor and drop instead of taking an elevator like a normal person. So, but either way, we find Laurel, the guard handcuff supplier. So now we know who supplies the handcuffs, which definitely is working according to their plan. They got caught and everything. And so they bring up, once again, the time limit and everything. It's like, it actually doesn't matter how many people are arrested. What matters is you're not arrested at the end of the 2 hours. You can stay arrested for 1 hour, 59 minutes, as long as you're not arrested once that clock strikes 2 hours exactly. If you're not in the jail, if you don't have handcuffs on, you pass. So Vilu brings this up in another flashback and says, like, listen, being arrested isn't that big a deal. Realistically, if you're arrested for an hour, it doesn't really matter if you can get back out, right? So the trick is, why don't we initially get caught to use it as to our advantage to figure out what exactly is going on, how do they supply the handcuffs, and then they move forward from there. So it actually makes a lot of sense. They all sort of agree to this. They figured this out in basically 2 minutes. They divvy up the teams and who's going to be on the teams and everything. We meet up once again with one of the with Tiddly, I believe is the name. Is it Tiddly, or is it the Tiddly brother? I forget. Anyways, we meet up with him. He's in the coal storage area, which seems to be actually, relatively speaking, as he's one of the ones who ran away. Smart thinking, because they're like, Debonair won't be able to use her hex in here because for risk of blowing up the place, right? She heats up or melts too much of the coal. Boom, bang, boom, there go the ironworks. So it makes a lot of sense to hide out in the coal storage. Now, they ask about his relationship with Vilu and stuff, but then it's brought up that betrayal, the reason that the last match ended. And we do get this from Mario. Mario is the one who brings up, like, hey, like, we were only roommates for a little while, but isn't Vilu your friend? It seemed like that. And they're like, no, we're not friends. And says, you never answered me from previous chapter. You never answered me. Like, how did you fail the test last time? And they said it was betrayal. It's like people, like, at the end of the day, everyone's out for themselves. Everybody wants to pass, and people will push themselves down. Sort of reminded me of the beginning of High School of the Dead, with the girls like, oh my god, we're best friends. As long as we stay together, nothing will happen to us. And once one of the zombies catches, like, help me. It's, get the fuck off me, bitch. You know, it's that very, it's a quick turncoat thing. Trust and love and friendship is all very been burned before sort of idea. So the idea of building up a trusting relationship, they sort of go on the philosophical with this, which Hunter's Guild Red Hood has done previously. But the idea is that they are under the impression now that a relationship based on trust is fragile. Which realistically, not if you really trust someone, but I think they're sort of talking about false trust, about initial trust and benefit of the doubt sort of idea. That naivete will get people killed and get people betrayed, and then they end up in this situation. So he says, like, don't make teams, don't make friends, it's too big a risk. Good hunters are good liars. We have to be. It's part of our job. So I don't trust. And we do see a slight flashback of someone sort of resembling like a teenage version of Vilu, but it's all sketched up. So apparently that's someone who betrayed them in the past or something like that. So we're going to have to wait and see who that was. We'll probably meet up with that person later. I'm assuming that person became a hunter at the expense of breaking the relationship with the friends. So that's basically the end of the chapter. Pretty much says that Mario says, listen, you might think that way, that's pretty cynical, but at the end of the day, I have some little trust in you. We were only together for a short time, but you went out of your way to always remove things that scare me. Remember that Mario has that weird tendency of being afraid. So there's the situation, and so that being the case, says, listen, you can think that all you want, but I have a little trust in you, and I think you're sort of like better than this. But trusting people is difficult, though. You're not wrong in that respect. So I understand. We'll respect your opinion. We're gonna go. We're gonna find somebody else. And you can see that sort of hesitating. They're like, maybe. Now this is where we see a bunch of like vines or mold, and that's what the guard thinks. It's like mold slowly creeping and growing on the cage. And just sort of going, what is this? And so we see Vilu and everybody there, that they're sort of somehow, I'm not really sure whose ability this is or what exactly this is, but apparently who's controlling it or whatever, but they're sending messages to the second party. So the parties are still able to communicate from jail, have no idea how this works, who's controlling the mold, how's it working, but either way, it seems to be a two-way street, and they recognize it is a message from Vilu. It's green. Then they do get replacements from the staff like we thought, and it's Plan A is the start. So it's Plan A. So far, I like Mario. I really like Mario's design and attitude. Got some quirks to him, but really an interesting character. I hope we get to see a lot more. It seems like we're going to head out with Chapter 11 following Mario as sort of the temporary leader of this little band, as Vilu's in the jail as our main character. But Mario, I hope, stays around as a main cast member so far. Definitely a very interesting character. And I'm very curious about this mold vine growing thing. Like, how are they doing this? How are they controlling it? They sent it as green so that they can know now that, so they say, okay, so they must have color-coded it like green means, that's how it is. Like, they would have a different color for something else or something. Anyways, but if you guys know where this mold stuff comes from, like how that's working, I have no idea. But either way, I definitely really enjoy this chapter. There was a lot to discuss, as I said, but what did you guys think of the chapter? Like, in all honesty, I thought this chapter was really, really solid. I could go on and make this like a 25-minute review, and we could really talk about like the in-depth stuff overall, but I think I covered most of it. I don't think I missed out on anything super, super important. I'm just really intrigued by Mario as a character. I want to know where this mold stuff came from, but I think these things will be answered. Like, we'll figure this out, because I think next chapter is going to follow the same format of present, flashback, present. Like, that's how we're going to be structuring this entire, because this isn't just a battle shonen manga. This isn't like Black Clover, My Hero Academia, Bleach, or One Piece, where it's just straight up, okay, it's me versus you, let's do this sort of idea. This is getting a little more Full Metal Alchemist, a little more Death Note-y about fights, about strategizing. It's more about, like, it's hunting. It's not Dragon Ball Z. It's got that Full Metal Alchemist, that whole idea of there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way than straight up fight to solve your problems. Like, we can't beat these opponents straight up. So now we have to make a plan. We got to strategize. We got to do that. I like the in-depth. I like the inner thinking. It's sort of like a mix, I guess, if you wanted to compare it. It's sort of like one of the more battle shonen, like Black Clover, My Hero Academia, something like that, mixed with the element of Dr. Stone. That's what it's sort of feeling like right now. We're taking some of the best, and we're sort of trying to mold some of the genres together a little bit to make us think a little more. You know what I mean? Very, very interesting. Sort of a little more like on the JJK side of thing. A little more like that, I think. Like there's a lot more to winning than just I have the biggest sword, I've got the biggest fist. You know, it's less meathead style than that, it appears, and I don't mind that. That's going to make this manga extremely interesting, assuming that it sticks around. So, thanks guys so much for watching. Really like this chapter. I hope you guys did too. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as the fourth rule, as always, drink responsibly. As always, as I always do, this has been your host, Griever the Mostest, and we will see you guys back here next time for Chapter 11 of the Hunters Guild, the Red Hood. Peace out, ladies and gentlemen.